Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the leader's compass and battery, burning bright or burning out. We're going to unpack the immense and honestly often completely invisible psychological toll of leadership. And more importantly, we'll map out some research-backed strategies to help you lead sustainably. Look, if you're in a leadership position right now, or maybe aspiring to one, you already know the demands are literally relentless. It's the late night emails, those heavily isolating decisions, and that exhausting requirement to just smile through absolute fatigue. But what actually separates the leaders who thrive under all that pressure from those who just completely crash and burn? Well, let's start with what is probably the most valuable question you can ask yourself. Why do you want to lead? Seriously, think about it. Jumping into a leadership role without a deep, honest sense of purpose is pretty much a guaranteed recipe for disaster. Research by leadership experts like Bill George shows us that if you're just leading to satisfy your own ego, you're not going to be successful in the long run. Those external ego needs, they inevitably go unfulfilled during the hard times, and they just wear you down until there's absolutely nothing left. When we contrast what actually drives leaders, the traps become incredibly obvious. Just picture a leader who's purely obsessed with extrinsic motivations, chasing that next big quarterly bonus, hunting for fame, or just trying to consolidate power. The immense pressure of leadership, combined with a seduction of those rewards, will inevitably pull them totally off course. Now, contrast that with a leader driven by intrinsic motivations, the desire to serve their team, to accomplish something truly meaningful, and to build a lasting legacy. These deeper motivations are what actually anchor you to a higher calling when the waters get, incredibly rough. I love this quote from Jim Burke, the former CEO of Johnson & Johnson, because it just hits the nail on the head. He said, "Without a moral compass, you're awash in chaos. When you face the inevitable crises of leadership, and trust me, you will absolutely face them, drifting in the wind without a firm moral foundation is just the quickest path to failure." Think about what that chaos looks like for a modern executive today. We're talking rapid market shifts, sudden PR nightmares, or having to navigate unexpected, painful layoffs. In those moments of sheer panic, your moral compass is what you literally must return to for clarity. Because when you don't have that compass to guide you through the chaos, the emotional toll is just devastating. Get this, a recent survey from a qualitative investigation of leader vitality reveals a really staggering statistic. 72% of senior leaders report being burned out. That means nearly 3/4 of all leaders out there are suffering from severe depletion right now, all due to the relentless demands of their roles. It kind of forces a really tough question, doesn't it? Are you secretly in that 72% group, just hiding your exhaustion behind a professional smile every single day? To understand this massive scale of burnout, we need to take a look at the hidden mechanisms that quietly, constantly drain a leader's battery. These are the psychological tolls you might not even realize you're paying. We're talking about emotional labor, which is that exhausting, unspoken requirement to always be on and upbeat for your team. Or self-control fatigue. Just think about how much energy it actually takes to constantly bite your tongue in a frustrating meeting just to keep the peace, right? It is a slow, steady, and incredibly heavy drain. Then there's the profound exhaustion of emotional dissonance. This is the dangerous gap between the emotions you portray and the emotions you actually feel. Ask yourself, are you faking your emotions at work? Imagine having to smile brightly and project this unshakable optimism through a company town hall when you know massive layoffs are looming next week. That gap between the enthusiasm you're projecting and the dread you're actually feeling inside, that is a massive drain on your psychological energy. Striving for authenticity but failing to achieve it because your role demands otherwise just leaves leaders feeling completely fractured. And it doesn't stop there. Beyond your own emotional regulation, your energy is actively leached by external forces that you have to battle every single day. Things like back-to-back meetings and a total loss of control over your own calendar, those are huge, very real drains. Then you've got the self-serving agendas and negative mindsets of others. You know the ones, those classic energy vampires in the office who just seem to suck the life out of every room they walk into. And finally, there is the profound, well-documented isolation of the executive role. That loneliness at the top just constantly chips away at your vitality. So, what's the fix? How do we stop this rapid drift into burnout? Well, leaders must discover their true north. This is your inner sense or your calling of what you truly want to accomplish in your life, uniquely combining your deepest values, your beliefs, and your purpose. Think of it kind of like a physical compass in the middle of a massive magnetic storm. When a corporate crisis throws your environment into absolute chaos and all your instruments are spinning wildly, your true north is that highly individualized moral anchor that pulls you right back when you start to lose your way. We have seen exactly what happens when leaders ignore this internal compass, and man, it is a tragic story every single time. Take Rajat Gupta, for example, a brilliant mind, highly respected executive who got caught up in chasing billionaire status. Despite having immense wealth and success already, he abandoned his morals for insider trading and literally ended up in prison. Or consider Lance Armstrong, whose absolute need to win at all costs led him to execute a massive, years-long deception. Both of these guys became totally seduced by external gratification, completely lost their moral bearings, and suffered catastrophic downfalls. Calibrating your moral compass to avoid those kinds of pitfalls takes intense, incredibly hard work. So here are the steps to finding your true north. First, you absolutely must confront your crucibles, which are your life's greatest hardships. Second, you have to develop deep self-awareness by rigorously understanding your own emotional triggers. And third, you have to completely abandon that dangerous lone wolf mentality and build a trusted peer support group. Look, this introspective process is often really painful. Forcing yourself to be vulnerable is exactly why so many leaders struggle to actually complete it. But overcoming those hardships, those crucibles, is exactly what gives great leaders their authentic inner confidence. Look at how these brilliant executives transformed their personal hardships into immense power. Ken Frazier overcame inner-city poverty to eventually become the CEO of Merck. Howard Schultz escaped the Brooklyn housing projects, a hardship that directly shaped his fiercely progressive views on employee benefits when he later founded Starbucks. Dan Vasella endured severe childhood illness, which deeply impassioned his lifelong mission to run Novartis. Their painful histories directly forged their unshakable sense of purpose. It's truly inspiring. You really can't walk that difficult path alone, however. To stay on track, it is absolutely essential to have a close group of peers who see the real you, the authentic you, and who have the courage to call you out when your actions just don't match your values. Remember Bill George, that massive voice in leadership we mentioned earlier? He talks about meeting with his own support group for 41 years. I mean, wow. Do you have anyone in your professional life who has held you accountable for even 4 years, let alone 41? You desperately need people around you to ask the hard questions. Okay, so once your compass is set and pointing in the right direction, you need the actual energy to walk the path, right? And this brings us to vitality. Vitality isn't just about being awake or, being highly caffeinated. It is defined as positive aliveness. It's having an absolute abundance of physical, psychological, and emotional energy readily available to yourself. Think of it this way. If burnout is the total depletion of your internal battery, vitality is the literal, fully charged battery that fuels your daily capacity to lead. So how do we actually recharge that battery? Well, research points to the PERMA plus 4 model as the ultimate scientific formula for sustainable leadership energy. This model shows us that vitality comes from a really dynamic mix of elements, like finding deep engagement in your work, experiencing positive emotions, finding meaning, and pursuing accomplishment. But crucially, for high-pressure CEOs, the data shows they rely most heavily on 2 things: protecting their physical health, so sleep, nutrition, and exercise, and fostering deep, meaningful relationships. That's a vital, scientifically backed framework for staying charged. In practice, fostering this kind of vitality in the C-suite requires almost militant discipline. Picture a top leader physically blocking out their calendar to create unscheduled white space just for deep thinking. It means completely turning off the phone to protect 8 hours of sleep and regular exercise, treating them as non-negotiable business assets. It involves stepping out of the boardroom to draw authentic, grounded energy from interacting with frontline workers. And most importantly, it requires taking true, fully unplugged time away from work to actually let that battery recharge. Now this brings us to a really fascinating concept, the energy paradox. Earlier, we mentioned energy transference and how it affects different personalities. It's amazing to note that transferring positive energy to your team is actually a renewable resource. If you're an extrovert, picture an extroverted leader leaving a massive town hall feeling totally invincible and fired up. But if you lean introverted, giving out that exact same energy leaves you depleted. An introverted leader might leave that exact same town hall needing to sit in a quiet room for an hour just to recover. You have to intentionally budget your charge based on who you are. Managing this energy correctly yields an absolutely incredible payoff, and the contrast is stark. Just paint the picture in your mind. Imagine a depleted, low-vitality leader. They're snapping at a subordinate in a high-stakes meeting. They're closed off, short-sighted, and honestly, just toxic to the organizational culture. Now contrast that with a fully charged, high-vitality leader. In that exact same meeting, they take a moment to actively listen, they encourage a new idea, and they act as a curious, visionary, inclusive force who just effortlessly elevates everyone around them. Night and day, right? Ultimately, when you align your true north with high vitality, something truly magical happens for your entire organization. Positive relational energy flows out of you and right into the people around you. This creates a highly vibrant environment where younger generations, like millennials and emerging leaders, can actually find the deep meaning and purpose they absolutely demand from their work today. Let's be real, if you run a low vitality, low purpose environment, the modern workforce will simply abandon you. But if you lead with vitality, you empower them to find their own authentic purpose. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to reflect on your own leadership journey today. Take a really hard look at your inner compass and your internal battery. Are you burning bright or are you just burning out? What kind of shadow are you casting on your team right now? Keep your compass calibrated, protect your vitality fiercely, and ask yourself today, who are you truly leading for?